Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Traders Summit, and with me today is Giles Coghlan from HYCM Markets. How are you, Giles? Good to see you.
Yeah, Blake, good to see you too. I'm doing fantastic. Some fascinating market action going on at the moment, so I can't wait to get stuck into today.
You know, there is so much activity, following the last 24 hours with the Fed. We had the BOE. We had like 5 central banks meet today. I mean, it's some crazy activity. But the thing I wanted to say is, first of all, thank you for being a contributor at Trader Summit. I read your columns every day, or I try to every day. I try to get to it, and that's one of my columns I like to go to read to in the morning. A lot of people know you from Forex Live, and you're with HYCM out of Hong Kong, and I think you're a really talented analyst and trader. So I'm really excited to hear your take on some of these topics that we have today. So what did you want to share with us today? Following the Bank of England, following the Fed, what are you looking at?
Well, there's one chart that I'm really interested in, and it's the pound yen. And I want to just run through why I've got a constructive bullish outlook on the pound yen and just outline some of the risk factors that are just holding me back. But once they dissipate, there could be some pretty serious upside in the pound yen. I'd love to share that with yourself and the viewers.
Please do. Let's go ahead and see your charts. Let's see what you've got brewing here. And I'll just reference the dollar yen is just trading at some near-term resistance around the 110.10, 110.20 level this morning. So we're kind of probing that big breakout area. So let's see the pound yen and what you see there.
Okay, first of all, I just want to run through the Bank of England meeting, which we've just had. And if you look on the screen, I've just got the latest Bank of England decision that I've got ready for today. And the end of the summary basically said that at its previous meeting, that's the August meeting, the committee judged that should the economy evolve broadly in line with the central projections, some modest tightening interest rate hikes over the forecast period was likely to be necessary. Now, they conclude by saying some developments during the intervening period appear to have strengthened that case. So the Bank of England have taken a more hawkish stance. Reading through the actual monetary policy summary, they sort of really highlight their concern about inflation. Now, at first, I thought they were going to ignore the inflation because it came in about 3.1%, and they projected 4%. But you can see they're a little bit worried with projecting inflation to go above 4% this year. They also mentioned that natural gas problem that the UK is really suffering with natural gas prices moving higher. And they're slightly worried that that's going to equate to more inflation within the UK. And it was this little line here that really struck me, where they said the monetary policy's remit is clear that the inflation target applies at all times. So that's going slightly counter to the transitory narrative. Although they have said that inflation is transitory, the fact they're saying the inflation target is still relevant. So that tells me there's enough nervousness, and they don't actually say what it is that means the case has strengthened for interest rates rising. Now, I'm reading between the lines, but could that be a little bit of a concern about inflation? Either way, money markets were pricing in a 15 basis point rise now in March 2022, as opposed to May 22 prior to the meeting. So all in all, there's a slightly more hawkish tilt that's come into the pound from the Bank of England.
So now, let me ask you this: Why would you select sterling yen versus, let's say, the euro sterling or just straight up cable?
Yeah, so euro pound fine. Pound US dollar is fine as well. It's just that dollar narrative is a little bit more confusing. Yeah. The euro, what's happening? Is the euro recovering? Is it not recovering? How's Germany doing? But I like the pound yen just because the Bank of Japan is pretty steady. They're not going to be messing around with interest rates. But the difficulty is the risk trade and the Evergrande crisis. So that's the bit that really puts me off, is that the Evergrande crisis is bubbling away. It's nothing to see the yen appreciate overnight. There's some problem out of China. So that's the thing that stopped me jumping and going all in. But the technicals are absolutely fantastic on the pound yen. I'll just run them through with you on the chart.
Please do.
If you look here, there's a beautiful hidden bullish divergence on the weekly time frame. You can see here the indicator is making a higher low. The price is making a higher low from July 2021, August 2021, and you've got the indicator making a lower low. So higher low with that line that's illustrating that higher low there. And then you have lower low with the slight line I'll just use to indicate there. Okay, so it's a textbook hidden bullish divergence, and I normally get a bit of flack for getting these wrong, or I'm so focused on the fundamentals, people say technically it's not right, but the price lines up with the indicator, so that's pretty as good as it gets. Now, I was looking at buying pound yen in when the risk tone was off, just around that mark support area that we were talking to the financial source guys who were the webinar I do each day. And this hidden bullish divergence, if we get a weekly close and that Evergrande crisis dissipates completely, then I think that the pound yen is setting up for a retest at that 155, 160 level. And there's two other areas that I can see potentially getting in. The only reason I'm not getting in at market is because I could see that Evergrande crisis ballooning.
Yeah.
Any retracements back down to that like 149, 148, I consider that suitable for going long. And I just have like a hedge in place around 147. So if it did go belly up, I'm only 200 points down. I can manage that and probably make it back if the trade goes back in your direction. But the other way is if you look on the weekly chart, if you see that long-term trend line going all the way back to 2007,
yeah,
so you've got 1, 2 possible trend line confirmed with the 2021 touch. If that breaks higher, that does open up a way nicely up to 160. So I like an entry up here with a hidden bullish divergence on the weekly chart. The prospect of breaking through the monthly charts, I mean, you can just pull stops nice and tight below. The Bank of England reaffirmed their hawkish stance. The Bank of Japan unlikely to change interest rates. So pound yen upside for the next sort of 3 to 6 weeks seems a reasonable expectation, and stops can be fairly tightly managed just below those recent swing points. So I like the pound yen. If it wasn't for the Evergrande crisis, I would be jumping in with both feet, but that's just been holding me back, unfortunately, Blake.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, you know, we've just got a couple of minutes, but I know we were going to discuss a little bit about gold post FOMC. You know, yeah. Gold's weaker, and I talked to a lot of traders and I talked to a lot of analysts and have for the last several weeks. Everybody seems to be really bullish gold, but you know, gold has really not been performing well. What are your thoughts on gold following the FOMC?
Yeah, Blake, it's so funny. I've noticed exactly the same thing. And I thought to myself, why is everyone so bullish on gold? I get the narratives. I understand why rising inflation, if the dollar stays weak. Now, look at that weekly pin bar on the weekly chart. I've been eyeing that with a lot of interest. That's the best looking weekly pin bar I've seen on this chart for the last 14 years. You've got a bullish close. You've got a long tail. You've got space to the left. Everything about it screams buy except the fundamental narrative. And of course, with the Fed taking a more hawkish stance yesterday, you know, Jerome Powell even giving us a taper timetable of the middle of next year. It's the kind of the most hawkish outlook you'd expect. I would expect it to have seen more dollar strength. Seeing gold downside does make sense. And with 10-year yields pushing up higher today, that is just moving gold lower. For me, Blake, the one event that I'm looking at is that October non-farm payroll, and I'm looking at it for a quick scalp in gold. If we get a very disappointing jobs print, then I'm not surprised to see gold a couple of weeks' time down at that 1720 region. I think there'll be another technical pause just in that sort of hefty support level, and then it'll be all eyes on the NFP. If NFP hits it out the park, I think 1680 is at risk of collapsing. If we see the NFP being a disappointing miss, then it just gives those gold bugs a little bit longer, and I could see another retest up to that 1830 region, possibly up to that 1900. But I'm just watching those narratives. How's inflation doing? How's the Fed doing? What's real yields doing? and trying to pick my way through it. But it's not a market I feel I have a really strong conviction on, Blake, even though some really do. But I don't share that conviction, and I'm just happy to go with the ebbs and the flows as they come. Maybe I'm just a skinflint, and I'm not as advanced as everyone else. But that's my conviction at the moment, Blake.
Well, Giles, hey, I just want to say, as far as gold goes, at least you know your levels, spoken like a true trader. And I want to say thank you very much for joining us today on Traders Summit. And, if you want to get more from Giles, you can obviously follow him here on Traders Summit. And then you can click the link below. If you like these videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you give us the thumbs up. Giles, thanks again for joining us today. And I look forward to the next time that we meet.
Oh, so do I, Blake. It's always a pleasure, and I've really loved our time. It's just a shame we didn't have more time. But until next time, something to look forward to, Blake.
Same here. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Blake, and you. Bye.
Bye-bye.